There was a time when my Kung Fu was very good. It was my life, my destiny. My name is Mark Houghton. I was born in Nuneaton, lived in a small town called Bedworth. At the age of 14, I went to see Bruce Lee's movies. I became interested in martial arts, so I began studying judo at the age of 14. A friend of mine was doing judo with me, and halfway through practice, we have 10-15-minute break. So my friend went down to the cafeteria in the sports center. A few days before, we'd just seen a Bruce Lee movie. So when he walked into the cafeteria and saw this Chinese guy sitting there, his first thought was, Bruce Lee. This Chinese guy, this man, without him, there would be no White Tiger. This man's name is Willie Wong.
Biggest Kung Fu fighter. That's me.
One day, Mark met me outside. He said, you Bruce Lee? I said, of course I am. I'm a Chinaman. I'm a Bruce Lee. Okay? So he said he's learning Kung Fu. I said, show me. Show me. I say I know only the basic Kung Fu. Basic Kung Fu. Okay? Not karate, just basic Kung Fu. But actually, I'm just a street fighter.
A few days later, he said to me, he said, Mark, if you really, really want to learn Chinese martial art, you have to go to Asia. And I said, how can I do that? Well, he smiled and he said, go to Malaysia. I said, how can I go to Malaysia? Because I'm from Malaysia. My family's in Malaysia. He says, my father owns a hotel. He says, I can talk to my father and you can go live with my family. And I just hugged him and said, thank you, please. I want to go to Malaysia. Malaysia was a real experience. I left the UK in my late teens, and I arrived in Malaysia. Willie's friends met me, and they took me to his family's hotel. It was called Johor Hotel in Jalan Ibrahim Sultan. This is where my martial art journey first began. This is where Willie Wong sent me to live with his family. Now here you can see is a building. This used to be Johor Hotel. They used to have a big hotel here. And they had the main entrance here and at the side entrance here. And on the first floor there was a room 14. That's where I first stayed. So this was the beginning of my life here in Malaysia. And it was one of the best times and best memories I ever had. Just across this way, there used to be a house of, house of prostitution. No. And one girl was forced into prostitution. And she got away from the pimp. And she came running out of the house, she came running down here. And she jumped into the sea, obviously trying to kill herself, shamed at what happened to her. And I was sitting on the step and I saw it, and I come running across and I jumped into the sea, and I went out and I grabbed her and I pulled her back and I saved her, gave her CPR. We called the ambulance and the ambulance came and took her to hospital and she lived.
you know. And I was pretty proud of myself. You know, I just saved someone's life. And at the end of the shift, I went to sleep. Now, while I was asleep, my father, my adopted father, heard the story. And when I woke up and come down, I was all smiles, thinking people would congratulate me. And as soon as I came down to the lobby, my father came up and he scolded me. He was really, really angry. He said, "What the hell did you do last night?" And I looked confused. And I said, some girl tried to kill herself and I jumped in the water and I saved her. And he looked at me and says, "Listen, if someone wants to kill themselves, let them kill themselves." He said, "Do you know that if somebody's drowning, the strength they have, if they grabbed hold of you, you could drown with them too." He says, "How could I face people knowing that something happened to my son?" No. And I stopped and thought about it. No, he really loved me as his son, and he was really so scared that something would have happened to me. I was happy that I saved the girl, and I have no regrets, and I would do it again, you know. But for him to say that and for me to realize that he took me into his family, and he really, really treated me as his own, that was something that made me realize that I was part of their family.
All come way. When I first met him, he was 49 years old. His physique did not look like Bruce Lee. And I kind of questioned whether this was a Kung Fu master. But the first time I saw him perform, I knew he was a Kung Fu master. His passion for Kung Fu was unbelievable. He was an exceptional man.
And he was the beginning of my Hung Gar journey. And because of the quality of Hung Gar he taught me, when I eventually went to meet my hero in Hong Kong, Lau Kar-leung, and he asked me to demonstrate, he was impressed with what I had. And that's the reason he took me as his student.
We are very close knitted. Close knitted. A friend of the family is family. You know? No question asked. Friend of the family, trustable, then you are family too. So my whole family, my nephew, nieces, sisters, brothers, all accepted Mark as part of the family.
There's a place in Coventry called Hillfields. It's where all the black guys, Jamaicans live, you know? And they got a bar there. I always go there. No white guy go in. He take me in. Then all the Rasta guys look at me.
Toilet, there's one here, okay?
They're not happy. So he's done there. He got the beer in his hand. He grabbed his jeans, lift his leg up 180-degree sidekick. And he said, "This guy with me, any problem?" And they all bow. "Sifu, Sifu, no problem." And then they all shake my hand, all friendly with me, you know. So many stories like this, you know. But he bring people together. It doesn't matter what color, what religion. He bring people together.
Now, even though Willie was a nice guy and he had a great sense of humor, he also had a crazy side when it came to fighting. And Willie really liked to drink by himself. It was only me that would accompany him on a regular basis, but sometimes he just liked to go out and drink by himself. And one night, he went out drinking by himself, and he usually has 10 to 15 pints a night, so he usually gets drunk before he goes out. And this one time, he was in this bar, and he was pretty drunk, and he took out his cigarette, and he had a box of matches, and he was striking the matches, trying to light the cigarette. One of the girls sat with her back to him, and every time she saw him strike a match to light his cigarette, she turned around and blew out the match. And it went on like this until there was no matches left for him to light his cigarette. So he looked at the matchbox, it was empty, and the girl started laughing, and he pushed her off a chair. Well, when he did that, these 8 guys stood up and they attacked him. So he got up and he fought back. And the doorman came in and they separated everything and they threw him out. The next day, I went to see him. It was a Saturday morning. And he said to me, he wants to go shopping to get revenge. And I go, shopping for revenge? What do you mean? He goes, just come with me. He went and bought a pair of cowboy boots. I was in cowboy boots for revenge, After that, he went to a sporting goods shop and he bought 2 hunting knives like this. And he put the hunting knives in the side of his cowboy boots. And he said, okay, I'm going for revenge. I went, oh shit. So we got to the bar and Willie said to me, you wait outside, you don't need to go in. A few minutes later, you see these group of people come running out the door, and even the doormen come running out the door, and they're all running down the street, and Willie's running after them with his big knife in his hands. Fortunately for them, Willie's stamina wasn't that good, so he couldn't catch them.
Mark is a fast learner. He's one of the best. Oh, this young man I brought from the UK to study Kung Fu in Malaysia. Oh, now he's in a movie, doing Kung Fu movies. I was very proud.
Wow! Come on, move along. I said, baby, I know you're on a roll.
I arrived in Hong Kong, 88. My idea was to meet Lau Kar-leung.
Sometimes the word arguably is used when describing someone great, but there is no argument when it comes to Grandmaster Lau Kar-leung. Some of the greatest martial arts movies ever made were directed by him. Some of the most innovative and elaborate choreography ever captured on film were meticulously crafted by his hand. The reason for this was not only his extensive knowledge of film, but also his historic knowledge of martial arts, leading all the way back to the legendary real-life hero, Wong Fei-hung. Master Wong Fei-hung's student was the famed martial arts master Lam Sai-wing, who was also a butcher by trade and thus was known as Butcher Wing. He was the master of Lao Sham, the father and master of Lau Kar-leung. As Master Lao learned everything about filmmaking, he also absorbed it into his prism of real martial arts. His creativity would then flow with mastery of knowing how to entertain. While the folding of the Shaw Brothers studio in the mid-'80s closed the curtain on Master Lau's greatest films, he continued to direct and deliver memorable performances in several films. It was during this latter period that Lau Kar-leung directed the 5th installment of the popular Aces Go Places series of films. There he would meet Mark Houghton, a young British martial artist who came to Hong Kong to break into the film industry. He would ultimately become Grandmaster Lao's only chosen disciple.
Mr. Ho, Albert Ho, he arranged for me to go to Cinema City to meet my hero, Lau Kar-leung. I walked in and I was so starstruck. You know, my hero, Kung Fu master, was sitting in front of me. So I introduced myself to him and I spoke a little bit of Mandarin. So I said, you know, Lao Sifu, you are my hero. I love your movies and your Kung Fu, and because of you and your movies, I decided to learn Hong Ga in Malaysia. So he said to me, he says, well, could you show me some Hong Ga? So I started to play Tiger and Crane for him. And he looked and he says, wow, he says, for a Westerner, your horse dance and Kung Fu is not bad. So he took me for dinner. And we're sitting at the table, and he said to me, he says, he's got a new film coming up, Aces Go Places Part 5, with Sam Hui and Maka. And he said, if I want, there's a part in it for me. And I looked at him, and a big grin came across my face. And I said, Lao Sifu, of course, I got this opportunity, this chance, I won't say no. Yes, I want to be in your film. So the film wasn't starting until around October, November time. And now it was June, July time. So I flew back to the UK and then went back, started teaching again at my school because I had a full-time school in the UK. And then I made arrangements then to take time off to go back to Hong Kong to shoot this movie. And I was thinking after shooting this movie, then I will go back to the UK and carry on teaching. Now, I flew back to Hong Kong and I went to the movie set. And the first day on the movie set was in Kwai Chung, was in the freight container area where the shipping comes in. And my first day I was dressed as a fireman, stealing a sword. But I got on set, and as soon as I got on set, Lao Sifu stopped shooting, and he asked me to come over. And then he said to everybody, Mark's gonna demonstrate Tiger and Crane for you all. So then he asked me to demonstrate Tiger and Crane for everybody on set. So I started to, and I started to demonstrate. And as I looked, Lao Sifu was next to me. And whatever I was doing, he was doing the same. And he would be next to me. Yao Tiger, and he would be next to me. And I thought, wow, I gotta be faster than him. I gotta move fast. So when I move, he was faster. No matter how fast I moved, he was always one step ahead of me. And it was just an unbelievable experience. And we came to the end of Tiger and Crane and stopped, and he looked up at me and smiled, and then he shouted, Hoi Kong! Okay, everybody start work again. So then they started to work, and I went to change wardrobe. Halfway through shooting of Aces Go Places 5, he called me over and he said to me, he says, Mark, he says, after this movie, you're gonna go back to the UK, or you're gonna stay in Hong Kong and carry on doing movies and, you know, work for me. So I looked at him. I says, wait. I picked up a phone, called back to the UK and said, close my Kung Fu school. I'm never coming back. And that was it. The rest was history. I made a complete move from the UK to Hong Kong, and I've been there ever since. I've never left. Finished the first movie, Aces Good Places Part 5. And, wow, I was actually living a dream. It was the dream everybody dreams of. Going to Hollywood or Hong Kong, becoming a movie star, getting involved in the movies. And this was just an unbelievable feeling and experience. We'd come to Asia and we had the chance to go on screen and fight these famous stars that we always worshipped and looked to them as our heroes, you know. So in that sense, yeah, it was really good. However, there was another side to this. You see, as a Westerner coming into Hong Kong, we were not really looked upon as one of the actors or whatever. We were more looked upon as a human prop. We knew how to fight, but really we didn't know how to act. You had the main bad guys, and then you had the henchmen, and then you had the small bit part talking actors, and then you had the extras, and then you had the foreign fighters.
面見人啊！好在我身手好，閃夠快。你流鼻血啊？唔係，流鼻涕。
I've done over 60 movies. I've been credited for 41 or 40 plus. As my career in Hong Kong progressed, I had the opportunity to actually be hired as the fight coordinator for 3 Malaysian HBO series movies. So I went with Lau Kar-leung. Actually, it was Lau Kar-leung that got me the job. And he was shooting the series there of 3 or 4 movies, and he was the main actor. So he says, Mark, he says, why don't you come to Malaysia with me, and you be the main bad guy in these movies, and also you do the action directing in the movies. I said, okay, sure. So we went there, and this is my first experience being a real fight coordinator, and it was amazing, amazing experience. Now this was in '91, right? And at this time, I had a life-threatening ordeal there, where I got into a conflict. This is a story about me fighting for my life, and I'm going to tell you now. One night, I got into a confrontation with a certain group of people. It was 1991, Malaysia. I was sitting at breakfast in a hotel. Table behind me, 3 or 4 guys eating breakfast. One of them looked at me. He says, you're from Hong Kong, you make movies, right? I smiled and said, yeah, that's right. He says, oh, we really like your movies. Could we have your autograph? I said, sure, why not? And I signed my name for him. As I was about to leave, he said to me, he says, couldn't we take you for dinner tonight? It's their friend's birthday party. And he really likes my movies. Would I please attend the party, and it would be like their present to him of me being at his party. So I said, sure, why not? They picked me up at the hotel at 6 o'clock. We went to a bar. The birthday boy was there, and we started celebrating the birthday. From 7 o'clock at night till 12 o'clock, we were drinking anything you could imagine. 1:30, nearly 2 o'clock, we left that bar and we went to a disco. Once I got inside, we got to the table. I turned around, there was 6 pint glasses on the table. They were filled with brandy, whiskey, beer, and Guinness. So I looked and I picked up the first pint glass and I knocked it back, and I took the second and I took the third. By the time I took the third, I couldn't see, everything was dizzy. People asked me, can you still fight? I said, no, I can't fight. I want to go to the toilet. So I went to the toilet. When I got into the toilet, someone came up to me and they says, we just heard them talking. They want to kill you, you better leave. I wasn't quite sure whether I heard him say this or not. So I staggered out of the bathroom and I went back to the table and I sat down on a chair. And the guy came up and tapped me on the shoulder. He says, can you fight? I said, no, I can't stand up. Their attitude changed. Fuck you, we're gonna kill you. And as I stood up, I could see one guy walking across to me, and he's a big guy. He had his hand in his jacket. First thing I thought of was knife. I saw a chair in front of me. So I leaned on the chair, thinking if the guy got a knife, I would use the chair to hit him. When he started to come closer through the crowd, his jacket opened, and it was a gun. It wasn't a knife. So I just turned and I ran to the exit. Everybody ran after me. As I got to the entrance and I got out the door, someone was just getting out of a taxi. So I managed to jump in the taxi, slam the door, and I called the taxi driver, drive. The taxi took off. Again, I did a sidekick and I knocked him back and I looked, and across the road there was a hotel. And I thought, don't fall on the floor. If I hit the floor, I'll never stand up again. I rushed to the hotel. I thought, if I can get into the lobby, there's lights, witnesses, they won't follow. I pushed open the door of the lobby. There's about 10, 15 people in there, and they're talking. As soon as I open the door, everybody looks at me and they go silent. And I look at them and I say, excuse me, can you call me an ambulance? And then I said, sorry, I've got to lie down, and I collapsed on the floor. Afterwards, they told me I rolled along the floor. I rolled around 6 feet. There was a carpet of blood, 6 feet long, the length of my body. When the ambulance come, they didn't know how to pick me up. This arm was hanging off because they go under your shoulder. They got me to the hospital because it was around 3 o'clock in the morning, no traffic in KL. If it was in the daytime, I would have died because of loss of blood. They never got me to the hospital in time. When I come around from the operation the next day, the doctor and the ambulance driver was standing at the foot of my bed. And the doctor looked at me and he says, "I don't know how you're still here." And he just walked off, and I just thought, that's a nice thing for a doctor to say, you know. I'd had 400 stitches total, no. And after the second day, I decided the third day I was going to leave. So the morning of the third day, the doctor came in, and I said to the doctor, "I'm going to sign out." He says, "You can't sign out, you can't walk." And I got out of bed, I got the crutch next to me, and I started walking. I said, "I can walk, I'm signing out, it's my responsibility." And I signed myself out of hospital against the doctor's orders. My friends helped me get dressed, they helped me get downstairs, they helped me get into the car. Once I got back in the car, they said to me, they says, "You want to go back to the hotel?" I said, "No." They said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "Take me back to the disco." My friend looked at me and says, "What?" I says, "Take me back to the disco." So they drove the car back to the disco and parked it in front of the doors of the disco. When they parked the car, I told them, "Now get me out of the car." They picked me out of the car, and they took me to the front of the car and sat me on the front of the car. And I said, "Now get back in the car." And they got back in the car, and I sat on the front of the car by myself, looking at the doors of the disco. Within a few minutes, the door opened, and one guy stuck his head out. The doors closed. A few more minutes, the doors opened. 20 people were standing there at the door looking at me. I lifted up my hand and waved. Then I told my friends to get me back in the car. They got me back in the car and we drove off. And my friend said to me, he says, "You're crazy, what do you do that for?" I said, "One, I showed them I wasn't dead. Two, I showed them I'm not scared. Because if I didn't do that, for the rest of my life, I'd be running." This is just one of my stories. I've had 3 attempts on my life. I've been stabbed many times. Lucky for me, heaven or hell doesn't want me. It's not my time. My Sifu, he said to me one day, "Tonight, we go to karaoke. Sifu pay." I said, "Okay, Sifu." And in the karaoke, he looked at me and goes, "Mark, would you like to become my real disciple?" And I jumped up, ran out of the room, found the waiter outside, got a red packet, got some tea, come back, and then I got on my knees and gave him the tea and did the tea ceremony and did the baisi. And on Drunken Master, I became the real disciple of my Sifu, Lau Kar-leung. Working in Hong Kong movies is pretty dangerous. It was because of my martial art ability that I got jobs in movies. I was more of a human prop than anything else. Hong Kong stunts are so dangerous that the life of a stuntman is very difficult. All the top stuntmen, all the top action actors in Hong Kong, they get injured badly. You know, for me, I did a few high falls and damaged my hips. From stunts, my body was torn apart. Overnight,
my kung fu, my career ripped from me. I had both hips replaced. An artificial meniscus put into my right knee. I felt like a cripple. No longer being able to do what I loved doing most, what was my life. Depression. I destroyed, I burned all my photographs from the movies. Any video footage from me, from behind the scenes, destroyed, all gone. I couldn't bear to see myself doing things that now I could no longer do, and the pain inside was just too much to bear. I became empty. Aggressive, violent, fighting many battles that could have killed me. My body is like a road map of knife and sword wounds, scars that I have to carry for the rest of my life. So because of these injuries, I stopped filming for a while. And I even stopped teaching Kung Fu for a while because I had problems doing what I used to do. Then I got a call to do, in '97, to do a knockoff with Van Damme. And I played this Russian guy. And at the beginning of the film, there's a scene with scuba diving. So I took a crash course in scuba diving for the movie. After I finished the movie, I got so interested in scuba diving that I went away to Philippines for a few months and just did diving. Yep, perfect. 45-12. 45% helium, 12% oxygen. So I need to write. Eventually, I became an instructor, and I started to make a living by teaching scuba diving instead of martial arts or movies. Scuba diving made me forget. I became one of the highest rated scuba diving instructors in Asia. Going from recreational diving to technical diving. My deepest dive is 175 meters, using helium, mixed gases. Cave diving, public safety diving, body recoveries, underwater body bagging. Daniel!
Hi, Mel.
How are you? Nice to see you. This is Daniel. He's the instructor here. Been in aquaventure for a long, long time. Let's go in. So here we are at Aquaventure Resort. It's coming to sunset and we're relaxing on the deck area. And in this trip, we are going to be doing fun diving. But our fun diving is actually technical diving. So there's a lot of planning. You really have to calculate what you're doing. The day after, we're going to hit 60 meters in the cave. This cave is a very nice cave. There's a lot of marble ray in there, right?
Yeah.
So there's some very, very big marble ray that are like this in width. So hopefully we get to see them. And let's just relax and enjoy the sunset and get ready for tomorrow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Mark, Phil, where are you going to go today?
We're gonna go into the cave, and we're gonna look for the marble ray. The cave is at 45 meters starting. You can see we're in the middle of nowhere. So just to find it is pretty cool. Okay. Thank you. Bye, sir. 2013 was a sad year. I made a promise to a dying man. That dying man was my Sifu, Lau Kar-leung. In March 2013, I talked to my Sifu on the phone, and he knew my birthday was coming up. And he said to me, he says, Mark, on your birthday, come to the clubhouse in Hong Lo Yun. That's where he lived. It hurt my heart a little bit to see him like that. And he asked me to sit down. And he says to me, he says, Mark, he says, if I died tomorrow, I'd be really happy. And I looked at him and I said, Sifu, don't say that. I said, you got a long life. You're going to live till you're 90 years old. Why are you saying that for? He goes, you know, well, Mark, he says, I'm in so much pain that if I did die tomorrow, I'd be quite happy. And the reason why I'd be happy is because I have you as a student. And I know that you would carry on. He goes, you got to promise me 2 things. And I said, I promise you anything, Sifu, what's that? He says, first, you got to promise me to go back to the movie industry, go back to being a fight coordinator, stunt coordinator, teaching his action. And second, I got to promise him to start teaching Kung Fu again. So I made him these 2 promises. I said, okay, I will. But I said, Sifu, I said, but you're going to be around for a long time. And he looked at me and he smiled and he goes, he has no power anymore. And in saying that,
He hit me on the shoulder, and he hit me on the shoulder, and I fell off the chair, and I fell on the floor. And I sat up, and I looked at him and goes, Sifu, I thought you said you had no power. And he just started smiling. And I got back up and sat on the chair, and we finished having lunch. And then my Sisuk, Lau Kar-leung, came in, and we sat there talking for a while. And then after that, I left. And I had a few things going, and I was so busy that from that time, that was the last time I saw him alive. 3 months later, on the 25th of June, he passed. And that was a real hard time. Real hard time. Morning, very early, my phone rang. My friend called me. And he says, Mark, your Sifu's passed. As soon as I put down the phone, I went into shock. I just sat there. Didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. And then the tears started streaming down my face. And I picked up my phone and I called direct to my CMO. And her phone was on answering. So I left a message. Waited for her to call me back. A short time after that, my CMO contacted me and asked me if I'd like to help with the funeral arrangements. When the funeral came, the body was in the back of the funeral hall. There was a very large funeral hall. And we put up his photo. And a sign above the photo said, the teacher of teachers. And we had all the flowers and arrangements and the seats for people to sit. The funeral parlor had a rule that no one could stay overnight because of fire risk. However, because of my Sifu's celebrity status, and we were scared that reporters would come in and take photos of the body, that his wife got permission to stay overnight. So 5 people stayed. There was his wife, Jean, Rosie, the 2 daughters. There was the maid, and then there was a very good friend of my CMO, Wajie, who lives in Singapore. 5 of them stayed. So I said to my CMO, I will stay with you. It's not good that 5 women stay by themselves. So everybody left. And there was just 6 of us left in the funeral parlor. And they'd given 1 room at the back for everybody to stay. And this 1 room had 3 sofas and a bathroom in there. And my CMO said to me, she says, Mark, you can stay in the room with us, you can take 1 sofa and we'll share the other 2. And I said, CMO, I cannot. I said, 我係師傅徒弟 I'm my master student. 你係我師母 You are my 師母 I cannot stay in the room with you. It's unethical. You 5 take the room. I will find a place outside to sleep. So she says, okay. So I walked around looking for somewhere to sleep. And I decided to go to the back where the cold room is, where my Sifu's body lay. And I looked through the window of the door, and I looked at his body. And I knew then that I should sleep on the floor in front of the door to accompany him so he wouldn't be left alone. While I was sleeping, a hand brushed across my head, and I automatically opened my eyes and looked, and there was nothing there. And I jumped up and looked through the window, and I smiled. And I thought, Sifu's with me. We did the cremation in Lama, in the big Buddha temple. Now, this place for cremation is supposed to be for monks only, and also for those that serve the monks and live in that area. But because Sifu spent his life promoting Shaolin martial arts and Shaolin Kung Fu, that they gave him permission to be cremated inside the temple grounds. When we took the body there, it was an old-style oven, a brick oven, and they'd filled it with logs. And we brought the coffin in, and the coffin was pushed in, and it had 2 iron doors on each side of it. So we left the iron doors open, and my Simo told everybody to get out. No one could watch the body burn. I thought his passing was hard, and the funeral service was hard. At the funeral service, I cried so much that the photographers, the reporters, and the TV took photos and footage of me and said that I cried like the heavens opening up the rains. No. But when we watched the coffin burn and it fell apart, and you could see the body, and the body started to burn, that was truly the hardest thing in my life, to have to witness. Pain I felt, and the pain my Simo felt. We both knelt down in front of the furnace, both crying. I stood up, and I performed a Kung Fu form, 五形拳, 5 animal boxing for him. When I finished, I knelt back down and promised him that I would look after my Simo and the children. I would help whatever I could if they ever needed my help. And I would always keep a relationship with them. And that I would keep his Kung Fu going. I remembered our conversation, and I said to him, Sifu, don't worry, I will keep my promise.
咁阿 Mark 咧，亦都好盡做徒弟嘅本分。雖然佢唔係一個中國人，但係如果喺傳統中國禮節上講嘅尊師重道啊，講嘅照顧師母啊，各樣嘢咧，佢都係做到本分嘅。咁呢一樣嘢咧，我覺得阿 Mark 咧係冇令到師傅失望。中國人有一句説話叫做人走茶涼，人如果唔喺度嘅時候，感情同埋尊重都會慢慢咁樣就消失嘅。但係阿 Mark 冇因為師傅嘅離去而減低咗佢對武術嘅熱誠，亦都冇減低咗佢對師傅嘅尊重。咁除咗對師傅係尊重、對師母係尊重之外咧，咁佢亦都對佢嘅師妹啦，咁亦都係好照顧。阿 Mark 作為一個外籍人士啦，其實所做嘅一切嘢咧，其實係唔會少得過任何一個中國嘅徒弟嘅。咁我覺得佢係我哋中國嘅兒子咯。
them that try out for the Lao family stunt team, and they can train and work out with them. They can even work on projects with us, and it's a time thing. I mean, to find the real people that are going to be able to achieve what I'm looking for is going to take time. You know, it could take 2-3 years before I put together a complete team for the Lao family. You know, but you've got to start somewhere. So this is where I'm starting. You know.
Always enjoyed training with Sifu. He really, he always pushes me to my limit, and yeah, he always makes sure I express my the most power.
Jean is my Sifu's daughter. Okay, she learned martial arts from my Sifu when she was young. So now what I'm trying to do now is help her train back what she got from her father when she was younger. You know? So I'm helping train her back into the art of Hong Gar. This way, and then I want you to go this way, so the camera can see you. Please, nobody misinterpret this. I am not a teacher. Okay? I can never be. A teacher is a father. But I'm just putting her on the path of what her father showed her when she was younger. Come on. Yeah. In here. You're not gonna see it there.
I'm Charlene Houghton. So I'm half British and half Chinese. My father is British, my mom is Chinese. For me, I started to learn Kung Fu since I was 14 from my father, which is a Kung Fu master. But for first, I always see him have a lot of students coming from overseas training with him in the school. And one day I was there in his school watching him teaching his students. And I think, I want to be part of them. I want to be able to perform the Kung Fu, perform the weapon form. I want to know how to fight as a girl. That would be cool if a girl know how to fight really good. So I go to my father and I ask him, I tell him I'm really interested in learning martial art, learning Hong Gar from him. So he said, yeah, I can teach you, but I will treat you like my students. Everyone will be the same. I won't treat you better, I won't treat you good. If I tell you to work out, I tell you to do the stance, you need to work hard on it. No excuse. And I say, okay, I will try my best. And then at first he taught me all the basic forms, weapon forms, and all the stance, the horse stance, and doing exercise like putting iron rings on your arms, doing strength exercise. At first it was okay, and then slowly I think, why Chinese Kung Fu you need to practice the forms all the time? It's so boring. And I prefer just kicking and punching, jumping around and practicing the forms. And I don't like to you need to remember all the steps. There's so many details. And I found it's boring, I told my dad. But slowly when I study Hong Gar, when I know more about it, I know the meaning behind that forms. Wanna have more fun?
Whoa. We're only trying to have some fun.
You having fun now? My father's organized a team which includes stunts and people can perform real kung fu and doing movies of my Qigong's scripts. We shoot traditional kung fu fights, similar like my Sifu Lau Kar-leung. The same feelings and all the real stunts, real punch, real fightings. Everyone will be impressed. I think it's a really good idea because I can see the passion in my father. He's really good at being an action director. I think he will be successful. I believe in him. Not bad. Want to have more fun? Follow me. You're welcome.
Come down here and fight.
You haven't had enough? Not too comfortable. You know Hong Kun? Come with me.
Wait, come on. Wait.
Who's your Sifu?
More Sifu.
That's my daddy.
school lions. The official opening now is the 23rd of September. So we can't use them until the opening, because once we do the opening, we have to do the gong of the lion. So we have to kill a chicken, use the chicken blood, and stop the lions. So we'll wait till 23rd of September before we use them. So we'll hang them there first. And that's why we covered the eyes. See the eyes, they're covered with the red paper. This means they've not been blessed yet.
With Sifu is very physical. We work hard, train hard. We obviously try and learn the techniques, but the important thing is the application. For me, application is important. Myself, in the UK, I'm a police officer, and I also train the police. So the actual application of the martial art moves is really important. Being part of the lion from the lion dance, whether it be the head or the tail of the lion or the drumming or any of the instruments, it's important work as a team. It's demonstrating their kung fu skill. So if you have to have good posture, good stance, good timing, because again, if we're doing the fights and striking and different things, you have to have good timing. It's the same with the lion, it's no different.
Dong, 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 no. This way. Dong, dong, no. We're going to film. Dong, 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 chit. Dong, 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 chit. Now, dong, 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 dong.
你講啊，呢個唔裝修啊。
Sifu, I made you two promises. The first one is to go back to the movie industry. To be a producer, director, stunt director. I've started teaching a stunt team, the new Lau Kar-leung. The second promise I made you was to carry on teaching. I know of students who have schools in Hong Kong, China, England, Scotland, Ireland, France, Austria, and every day your grand students are growing I hope you're happy. I promised you and I will succeed. I will fulfill my promise to you. Now, I'm standing in Phat San, the home of Wong Fei-hung. And I've opened this Kung Fu school under your name. I brought Hong Ga back to the place it was famous from. Sifu. You gave me 2 promises to make. And I promise you I wouldn't fail you. Thank you, Sifu, because the promises you made me make are worth more to me than anything in this world. Without you, I wouldn't have anything. Thank you, Sifu.
Born in the city, raised in captivity. The king of my zoo, yet deep inside I knew a calling from the plains, some things you can't explain. They never understood. I did it just to prove I could. And I will find a way to carry on to something new. I will find a way to carry on. Down any prey, white tigers will leave no doubt. Still haven't found a way to take my own demons out. A master of the game, and yet a troubled slave. When I have beaten all myself, I still cannot see. And I will find a way to carry on to something new. I will find a way to carry on.
Go!